Anything doesn't have to be school related. No? Okay, this is Friday. I can understand the mood. All right. No? Okay, never mind. So how are you? How's everyone? Can emote on my message if you do not want to type. I work much better with an interactive class for online sessions. It's very hard to see or know what's going on. If not, I'll be talking to two screens at my wall. All right. How was your holidays? Did anyone went to work? Three CC, yeah, 3CC is going to be tough. I mean, for me, a few modeling modules are tough. It's not about 3CC is tough or not. Some people love 3CC. Some people love modeling. Sketch or draw, we see how lah. I believe a lot of the students in 3CC can't really sketch or draw. Right. So a few are feeling sad. Okay. Any latest show that is nice or game that you guys are very into? Any new trends? No? Hui Ling is the only one good. Okay. Anyway, you have any questions, do ask. All right, I will take all questions. Okay, so DDA is our developing dynamic applications module. We do a lot with the database, and we use Firebase as a platform and the many different services under Firebase. All right. So I'll talk more into the module. So it's on my pointer. No, not this, but let me try my shortcut. All right. So we deal with Firebase and a lot of the real-time databases. Why we want to do it? Because we want to evolve you guys into more of a full-stack developer. You get to deal with, in 2.1 that was your game. They did, but that's about it. There wasn't like you can identify users or keeping track of scores and things like that. All right. There's no authentication. So we're going to do all of that in the module itself. We're also going to touch into analytics. So we're going to understand how our users are running the game. We're also going to do with our dashboard. So imagine you got your Unity app, you got it done. Then you have it at an event, for example, or you want to keep track of the leaderboard sent out to all your different users. So imagine all your users install your game, then you want to have a unified platform to see the leaderboard, for example, right? We are going to do that, or we can also using the admin panel, we can make some changes to our game in real time. All right, so we are going to do that too. So basically, we're working on NoSQL, NoSQL as our database. In 1.2, some of you touched onto MongoDB. So we use the similar format, except this is now on Firebase. All right, so this is our stuff that we're going to do. Now, this is the schedule. Some of you ask, is this permanent or what? Are we going to do HBL all the way? So tentatively, it's going to be HBL like this. Week 5 and week 9 are asynchronous. That means lessons are given to you already. Just that you self-study or you work on your assignments, depending on which right? So week 5 is mainly working on assignments. Other than that, assignment 2, I think ITD talked to you already. We have our group assignment and it lasts to 1 week with a break. We tried to compress, but I think we couldn't, so we extend 1 more week here. We tried to leave you guys alone in your 2-week break. Yeah, we are still trying, so we see how. Okay, in week 12, week 13, that's your master class, right? Then week 14 onwards, that's your IP project. Okay, so some students in the previous classes, they asked, you know, how many people in the group and so on. I would say it's definitely more than last sem, so it goes incremental, 2, 3, then to at least 4 now. So we are thinking 4 or 5 due to the hardware issues. That means because now COVID, then it's harder to share the hardware. All right. CA is continuous. I'll be on reservist, so some of your classes will be affected, but we'll see how. If I'm not wrong, the common schedule should be, common free time is on Mondays. I have like a slot for 2 hours or something like that. So maybe I might do that. I'll let you guys know. All right. These are tentative changes. So I think recently our government announced some change, something like groups of 2 to November or something like that. I think we are also waiting some official announcement on the 24th. But I think due to the recent announcement, groups of 2, then we probably have to extend HBL for quite a while. Groups of 2, the reason is because like what the DAD students experience, one sitting can only accommodate 2 students. So most of our classrooms cannot accommodate all of you guys. That's why DAD split up. So it's like one classroom only have 12 students. All right, something like that. Okay, any questions up to this point? All good? Please emote if you're on track so that I know. Or are you all there? Thank you, Away Phone, for starting. Okay, we're going to do some administrative stuff. Anyone wants to volunteer to be a module rep or wants to, support someone to be a module rep? Anyone? Anyone thinks someone is capable? Module rep, very easy one. No one can volunteer 2 people. Let me see how it goes with the class. No, that's fine, Shen. Let's see. We had we had Arun, we had Esther. Do you want either of them or someone new? Am I that scary? Arun, would you want to take it up again or would you want someone else?
I can if no one else replies.
Someone else.
Can.
You can or you want someone else?
Someone else a choice.
Yeah.
No chance.
No. Take or leave it to someone else.
Nah.
Jordan, yeah. Okay. So I was waiting for this. This is what happened to the other two classes. This is not a popularity contest. Come on, we just need 3 more. The class is 13. Just need half. Even Arun also voted for Jordan. I think that's okay. Rotate. Yeah. I think Jordan shall be the rep. Yeah, I like my chat to be moving so that I know that my class is alive. Okay. Jordan, can you WhatsApp me at 961? Yeah, class rep very easy on. Module rep very easy on. Usually just some immediate announcement, then I find you. Okay. For those who have my WhatsApp, please don't WhatsApp me. Or Telegram, also don't Telegram me. Only, yeah, work-wise, use Microsoft Teams. We leave WhatsApp to for more of the class rep. Yeah, class rep. My first 2 classes, some of them have my WhatsApp, some of them have my Telegram. I mean, my mentees have my Telegram. Then I have to like answer code on 3 different platforms. Yeah. School number, business WhatsApp. Yeah, so it was very irritating. So I had to tell them, please, only schoolwork. Use MS Teams, mentees, live personal questions. You can use Telegram. Yeah, WhatsApp. Try to use it for really for specific purposes. Okay. If not, I'm flooded everywhere. Then it's very tiring. Then I don't know where to follow up. Yes, landline, you can set up a business WhatsApp. Can WhatsApp. So you can actually use your home number or landline, or you can even use your phone number to set up your own phone number to set up another WhatsApp account. So you can actually download the WhatsApp business account and set it up so that you only give that to some people. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So I set it up for school so that my personal WhatsApp don't get flooded again. Yeah. Okay, Jordan got it. All right, I would like to try something also. So this is what I did with the other class. So we're going to decide on how our class is to be like. So you can see what the other classes wrote. What I meant is like, how do you want the class? I think maybe for our sessions, we probably want to end earlier so that we can let some of the DDA folks have more time. All right. So yeah, decide on how your class is supposed to be. Okay, and something that we can all agree on. A lot of them type a lot of nonsense at the start. Yeah, and we trim that down. Okay. All right. So we take 5 minutes to think about our class. Your class can be different from other classes. So it'll be the same. So these are our so-called, should be contract, not contact. So it's more for our classroom environment. So you guys can decide. Give you some time. You all know what I'm talking about, right?
Actually, I don't really know what you're talking about.
Okay, so like some things like we want our class environment to be like, so sometimes people say fun, interactive, you know, we have to start on time, so everyone has to be on time. So everyone will agree on those terms, or we end all on time, something like that. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, but earlier the other classes had a lot of crazy ones, so we trimmed that down to something that the whole class agrees. I can see never late for class, can snack in class, yeah, during HBL. Some will say, oh, got 5-minute buffer time. Yeah, things like that. So some suggested recording of demos, help with homework. Yeah, things like this. Okay. No sabo. Sabo what? Try not to overwrite. You can actually create a new text box so that you don't overwrite each other. Yeah. Then later we can add those in together. If you find, I will record the demos for sure. For some explanation, if you find most of the slides I will go through. I don't think need to record, but if at some point you feel that you like me to repeat, then and record, let me know. Okay, if I forget to record, also let me know for the demos. Yeah, okay. You must, as speaker in game, the class must help lah. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, you have to let me know. Okay, so if you are a bit lost on certain concepts, let me know. Or you like a separate recording for certain setup or certain concepts, also let me know. Most of the all the demos I will record. Okay. Not sure what no sabo is though. Anything else you guys want to add? I think I'll add in one is for our DDA folks. We aim to end earlier for our DDA folks. Require coffee? Yeah, I always have coffee, but I cannot give coffee to your house. You cannot message me, man. So weird. My students can. No, you private message me your number, then I message you and try. Yes, we try to keep our personal comments to ourselves unless it helps in our class. Takoyaki, I think maybe if we have our first face-to-face, your class more, I can treat, yeah, coffee or takoyaki can. Our first face-to-face. Can or not? But yeah, you guys must help me. So the problem with HBL is when the class is, I feel is when it's not so interactive, or you don't ask questions, or you're not sure, or you don't follow through on the setup. So later we go through the setup and all that, okay? You also got to help me to help you. So yeah, let me just settle Jordan's one first. Right. Is it oh yeah, my pocket okay lah, takoyaki or waffle or coffee can Yeah, Jordan can already. Very good. Music Jam, you make the app lah. Yes, actually I would like to highly encourage to help each other for CAs and assignments. One of the major reasons is because your IP group size will increase, correct? So who are your new members to add on? So I rather you level up each other to help the class. Firstly, because of IP. The next thing is for next semester, you're more of your own already running the final year project. So it helps a lot to help each other. Okay. I'll try, I'm not sure music jam. Maybe one of my demos could be a music game. I'll try my best for icebreaker and games. All right. Anything else? You guys can slowly add and we'll revisit this. But I think this one we can all agree. All right. I'm fine with this. Agreeable. Unreasonable, I think it's fine. Yeah, it's not that bad. Some of the class previously they wrote a lot lah. You can see, you see. These are just some only. Lap dance lah, etc. etc. Chinese songs 19 hours. Oh my god. Wow, still got. I'll put this big. So Celeste, if possible, I would suggest you swap to group 2. Possible, okay? Later you go to class, you try and ask. If cannot, then let me know, it's fine. All right. I mean, it's better for you lah. All right, we'll come back to that again. I don't want to spend too long. Okay, the other thing I would like you, highly encourage you to clear your hard disk space as much as possible. The reason is because there's a lot of things to install for your modules and all that. Our Unity and ITD and DDA will take up quite a number of, some of space. So we're going to use this version of Unity. Make sure it's 2020.3.21. It's an LTS version. All right, make sure you have a Google account. Later we'll do the Firebase setup. Make sure that when you go to your Unity installs, you add in iOS and Android modules. So what I meant is when you go to your Unity hub, I'm showing my Unity hub, go to installs and add modules. So these are the two modules you should be adding. Okay, so it takes up about 3 gig in total. Make sure those two are installed. All right. Everyone got that? So the next one is about installing in the SDK. Not install, downloading the SDK, because later we will use it. It takes some time to download. We're not going to use it so fast. So now, when you download now, by then it should be done already. All right. Unity 2020. Oh, yes. So I'm just putting in the chat. So make sure you get all this set up proper. All right. So we won't need it now, but get it done early, the better. Okay. So we're going to talk about databases. All right. So what is a database? In summary, we use it to store a lot of data. All right. We log information. We log our stats. You know, especially for games, a lot of inventory information are stored into databases. Game loggings, like who's cheating, what time they log on, and all that can also be stored. We also use it for authorization. So maybe we want to find out who can log in and all that. Okay. Other than that, we allow access to data. Where do we install databases? We install on web servers, cloud servers. So web servers are your typical Apache or Nix servers. Cloud servers are like Google Cloud, your Google DigitalOcean. Google Cloud is a huge services. AWS is Amazon Web Services. It's the same as Google Cloud. All right. Yeah, I quite like. And then latest trend, so a lot of youngsters like. Then the slides must be in trend. Yeah. We will see how things go. Okay. So I try to make it as relevant as possible. Right. And it's a good show. It's a very good show. Backend services, Firebase. Firebase is the entire platform. All right. So we're going to use that. Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure. These are all full-fledged backend services. By that means they handle all your servers. Everything is all in one. So they do a lot of things for you already. So we do not need to know how to set up a server. We do not need to know how to set up a database. Those things are done for us. We just need to know what to call or what to create in our application. Why do we learn database? Because we want to build fuller-fledged applications, right? Make it more relevant to us, make it more interactive also. Because, for example, I want to show a lot of different player stats, or maybe I want to see all my player logs, what they click on, how many times they click, things like that. All right. So we want to find out insights on how people use our applications. So be it making a game or making a training simulator, or maybe you are making an educational application. All right. So all this requires a lot of data, and with the data, we can improve our content or improve our application itself. All right. And this data is very critical. If you are very into social media, some of you privacy, concerns about data, whether they know too much, things like that, right? Basically, all the major applications that we use today, they track every single thing that we do. They don't see what you're doing, but they just use it as a number to influence further features that they are building, right? Commonly done in e-commerce. All right. So there's a couple of key databases, there's groups that we are commonly seen online. All right, one is SQL, SQL, right? This is a structured relational database. Okay, so by structured means there's a lot of things that we can do in that structure itself. All right, we can query like I can search query, I can select, I can order them. There's a so-called language behind it, all right? And they have a relational relationship with the data. Okay, so common ones are MySQL and Microsoft SQL, right? One is open source, one is closed. So I'm just going to play a short video about what is database and SQL to summarize.
Welcome to this tutorial series on SQL and database. But before we learn about database, let's understand what is data. In simple words, data can be facts related to any object in consideration. For example, your name, age, height, weight, etc. are some data related to you. A picture, image, file, PDF, etc. can all be considered data. Now, what is a database? We already know what data is, but this data could be random. A database is a systematic collection of data. Since the data in a database is organized, it makes data management easy. What is a database management system? DBMS. Database Management System, or DBMS, is a collection of programs which enables its users to access a database, manipulate data, and help in the representation of data. It also helps control access to the database by various users. Let's discuss a few examples. An online telephone directory would definitely use Database Management System to store data pertaining to people, phone numbers, and other contact details. Your electricity service provider is obviously using a DBMS to manage billing, client-related issues, to handle fault data, etc. Let's consider the Facebook. It needs to store, manipulate, and present data related to members, their friends, member activities, messages, advertisements, and a lot more. We can provide countless numbers of examples for usage of DBMS. Database management systems are not a new concept, and as such, had been first implemented in the 1960s. Charles Bachman's Integrated Data Store, or IDS, is said to be the first DBMS in history. With time, database technologies evolved a lot, while usage and expected functionalities of databases have been increased immensely. Types of DBMS. Let's see how the DBMS family evolved with time. The following diagram shows the evolution of DBMS categories. There are 4 major types of DBMS. Let's look into them in detail. Hierarchical. This type of DBMS employs the parent-child relationship of storing data. This type of DBMS is rarely used nowadays. Its structure is like a tree with nodes representing records and branches representing fields. The Windows registry used in Windows XP is an example of a hierarchical database. Configuration settings are stored as tree structures with nodes. Network DBMS. This type of DBMS supports many-to-many relationships. This usually results in complex database structures. RDM server is an example of a database management system that implements the network model. Relational DBMS. This type of DBMS defines database relationships in forms of tables, also known as relations. Unlike the network DBMS, our DBMS does not support many-to-many relationships. Relational DBMS usually have predefined data types that they can support. This is the most popular DBMS type in the market. Examples of relational database management systems include MySQL, Oracle, and Microsoft SQL Server. Object-oriented relational DBMS. This type supports storage of new data types. The data to be stored is in the form of objects. The objects to be stored in the database have attributes, for example, gender or age, and methods that define what to do with the data. PostgreSQL is an example of object-oriented relational DBMS. So what is SQL? Structured Query Language, SQL, pronounced as SQL or sometimes as SQL, is actually the standard language for dealing with relational databases. SQL can be effectively used to insert, search, update, and delete database records. That doesn't mean SQL cannot do things beyond that. In fact, it helps in optimizing and maintenance of databases and much more. Relational databases like MySQL, Oracle, MS SQL, Sybase, etc. use SQL. SQL syntaxes used in these databases are almost similar, except the fact that some databases use different syntaxes and even proprietary SQL syntaxes. An example of an SQL statement: select star from members where age is greater than 30. DBMS stands for Database Management System. We have 4 major types of DBMSs called hierarchical, network, relational, and object-oriented. The most widely used DBMS is the relational model that saves data in table formats. It uses SQL as the standard query language. SQL is the standard language used to query a database. The database approach has many advantages when it comes to storing data compared to the traditional flat file-based systems.
All right, that was a short intro on data and SQL.
Welcome to.
All right, just going to run through a little bit about SQL. This is what I think most of the IT students are doing. All right, the common one is MySQL today. All right, there's Microsoft SQL. They are more or less the same. What they meant by data types, we can store all these different kind of data types in the database. That means we have to specify it's an integer, specifies a float, specifies a date, and so on. All right, so imagine your Google spread, your Excel spreadsheet. Right, there's a lot of data, there's a lot of information here and there. But if say I want to specify a column, you either need to be a float, either need to be a string, and so on. That Excel file can't really do that. I mean, we can specify the format, that's about it. But in a database, imagine your whole Excel spreadsheet goes online or goes to a server. We can specify what kind of data type it is. So whenever a new entry comes in, all right, it has to be that data type. If it's not, then the database will reject. You know, you'll say no, please, you cannot key in, and so on. All right. So that is so-called some of the things about SQL, right? By relational, it means something like this. All right. So imagine there's all these different tables or different spreadsheets in the database. All right. So a spreadsheet will look like something like this. So imagine you're storing all your Excel spreadsheets in a server. All right. Then we specify which columns and so on. And they mean relational because a sales statement probably has a sales, something related to sales. It also has something related to products. All right. So in these 2 separate tables, we have information about products. We have information about sales. Then in this illustration, say, oh, maybe in my sales, I also do exports. So I want it to be related to exports, and I want to store information related to exports. All right, I also can do something like this. All right, so when you see all these arrows over here, this is how they define the relationship between all the different tables involved. All right, so you got to roughly know so we can identify the differences probably in your future work also. The other thing is about NoSQL. This is what we will be doing. Okay, NoSQL basically means not only SQL. It's a very fast, unstructured way of storing and retrieving data. By unstructured meaning we don't define the data type. There's no data type involved. We don't say data has to be integer, data has to be a date type. No. All it does is store everything as a string, that's all. So all these are JSON strings. All right. So if you remember in your ID module, we did APIs and all that, then a lot of it comes in something like this, curly braces and strings of data. All right, these are all JSON strings, and we're going to do a lot of that. There are many different kind of providers of different kind of NoSQL. All of them deal with this kind of data format. All right. So I'm just going to do a quick video, this 2 minutes.
For years, SQL databases were the only path forward. But in the age of digital transformation, NoSQL databases can go where SQL can't. SQL allows data in tables to be sifted through by queries, a traditional way to store and retrieve data that worked well in the past. But after 50 years of experience, we know all the baggage that comes with SQL that slows development and makes scaling hard. The web, mobile devices, and digital transformation make speed of development and scaling must-haves. NoSQL databases were invented to meet those needs. NoSQL databases come in different models, but the document database leads the race due to its strengths in rapid application development, collaboration, and horizontal scale-out. MongoDB Atlas is the leading cloud document database platform that stores, distributes, and indexes data in flexibly structured JSON documents that map naturally to application objects. Flexible schemas handle any type of data and supercharge agile development. The document structure enables a powerful scale-out model that can handle huge databases and lots of traffic. MongoDB Atlas works in all the major public clouds, with extensive automation and a user experience developers love. So your teams focus on creating value, not on administration. MongoDB Atlas is the central product of the MongoDB Cloud, which also supports mobile development and data lakes, with built-in search and data visualization. MongoDB Atlas is strongly recommended by leading analysts, used by innovative corporations worldwide, and is the most wanted database by developers. When you need applications that go farther and faster than SQL can manage, MongoDB is the document database to get you there.
That was a little bit about MongoDB.
For years.
All right, but most SQL databases work the same. What they mean by scaling, that means we can instantly increase the size because we are just storing string. We just need to increase the disk space, for example. All right. The other thing is about flexibility. So it's pretty flexible. We can store huge amounts of information. So imagine the games that we play today. Mostly it's multiplayer, online. So a lot of people interacting all at one time. So how do we keep track of all this information that's in there? Then, for example, e-commerce also. There's a lot of information that's going on. How do we keep track of all that? There's pros and cons to each platform. All right, so we use what's the best, most ideal. It's great for mobile and gaming because we want to store data very fast. That's one of the good things about NoSQL. If you are doing SQL databases, you probably have to optimize your setup and all that. Right. So NoSQL best fit for unstructured data. That means we don't really need to bother too much on the structure, on the what kind of data types, for example. All right. Works better for large or small. I think with today's infrastructure, it's more or less okay already. Frequent updates is better for SQL. High write, that means we can store information, right? So imagine I want to store player log. Player click on this, player click on enemy, click how many times and all that. This is high write load, so we can store information very fast. All right. It's slightly slower in SQL because we have to see the data type. Is it storing properly? If it's not, then reject. NoSQL will don't care and just write, right? Dependency on transactions. So in today's NoSQL work, they are improving on the transactions. So transactions means like I make sure that like for example, money. I want to store transaction. I want to put in money into my bank, step by step, right? I can't do the later one. Maybe there's multiple transactions in at one time, so this one is be sequential, right? The other one is large volumes. I think both are okay already. Right. So just a comparison. In terms of SQL, it stores in tables like this, and we can query in very nice and neat formats like this. So we can find out which table from which that I want to filter. All these are done through the SQL querying language. So different SQL databases, they have different query language, but they are more or less the same, similar, very similar. All right, and I can filter, and all this is done very fast. So this is the stronger advantage in SQL. All right, in NoSQL, these are stored as strings. So the way that we store that information is critical. So the way that we structure, that means we make nicely, all right, it's quite important. So the initial planning plays a strong part, right? And we're going to do that planning also in our module. All right, so we're going to do our very first CA. This is very fast to get you activated. All right, simply pick a topic, and then we're going to do a bye bar after this. At the same time, you can have your break. All right, so I just want to key in here. All right, just split yourself into groups of 4. So I should have 4, 8, 12. 3 groups of 4 and 1 group of 5. So let me just oh, just nice. There it is. So just fill in your names. Any question up to this point? You all know what to do?
Not exactly.
Make a group first. So in the slide deck, there's some topics here. So simply create a slide deck and we present the topic. So in about 15-20 minutes, find out about all this. Just do some research, discuss within your team, and we will come back to present. All right. So each team to choose one topic. So just fill your names, nothing to discriminate, just move along. All right, this is just a very good starting CA to start our classes. You know names, let's fill in. All right, it looks something like this. Everything is a string format, right? There's one long string, and it's stored in a key pair value, right? So there's the key, or what we call as property. All all right, and we enclose it using our double quotes, and then we have our value, right? Although this one doesn't have quotes, right, it still means everything is stored as a string. Okay, so JSON data, all the format itself is stored as a string in the file type .json. Okay, we can store arrays in this format using square brackets. All right, and this is called level 1 of data. So all these are level 1. Level 1 is here, but inside we have an array that stores level 2 data. So we can nest our data, our information deeply. Okay, and it can go further in and further down. Right, we can have many levels of data storage. Whether it's good or bad to store many levels, that's a different story. Most of the time, it's not so good to nest too many levels because it's going to be an issue when we want to find data. Not just finding, when we want to update new information, it might become an issue. So, all right. So we'll talk more very soon. Yeah, we'll go through it. So this is very important. In the entire module, we do a lot with JSON information. So in the past, this is JavaScript version. Later we'll be doing about the C# version. All right. So everything is stored as key pair value like this, right? It's just data. Okay. So keys are in quotes. All right. In double quotes then with our values. So it's called JavaScript object notation. It doesn't mean like just because it's called JavaScript, then we need JavaScript. No, but it's just a data format like your .pdf and all that, .text. All right. So we can actually store our content in that manner, and that really simplifies a lot of things because everything is just a string, just pure text content. So imagine you have 1 gig of space. Right, there's a lot of text content that we can store. Okay, so there's a lot of information lah. All right, so that's one the strong advantage. So imagine your game is in real time, multiplayer. There's so much information going on. You don't just hit on one character. You hit maybe one enemy, or maybe you combine, cast a spell. Then all your other friends are affected. Things like that. So it goes in real time. You need a lot of entries to be in, all right? You can take in the form of any data type because they don't really care about your data type. Everything is stored as a string. Yes, just go to classroom.google.com. Good question by Esther. Let me just, before I forget. So I added everyone already. So we are in PO3 for you guys. It should be this thing. Just anytime, just go to classroom.google.com with your school email. This is tagged to your school email. So everyone that's invited on this platform is through your school email. All right. So I see a few students haven't logged in. That's fine. Later with your individual work, you will need to be logged in. All right. Okay, so the leader was there submit, right? So very fast, we get a CA done already. Okay, got it, Esther? Okay, so in Unity, we're going to start on our little JSON information, and I'll explain a little bit first. All right, in Unity, it looks something like this. If you forget, all right, this is C#. All right, then we have something called mono behavior. Having this mono behavior means we are inheriting everything that Unity has. Some of the main things that we have in Unity, such as start, your update functions, your awake, those are available in Unity. Okay. So in when we have a class or we have something like this, all right, this is what we have. We say if you remember your objects, so later I'll talk about it and go through during the demo. This is when we have our players, all right, our class. Then we have our variables or what we call as properties of the object itself. All right. Then we use the feature called JSON utility that will convert our data to a JSON. So I'll do my demo and talk more about it. So if you have questions, do ask along the way. So I'm just going to fire up my Unity and just create a new project. And in that sense, demo3 demo week 1. Anyone get about objects in Unity? So while I wait for Unity to start. So our Unity scene looks something like this. All right, and we're just going to start with a simple scripts folder. Oh, before I do that, I need to record. Just wait a while for the recording to initialize first. So do remind me, sometimes I will forget to call up. All right, so we have our basic Unity scene, looks something like this, and we create our scripts folders first. All right, so we have our script folders, and then we have our C# script. And I'm just going to call it simple JSON. All right, and we will fire up my Visual Studio editor. Yeah, we start in 3D, doesn't matter actually. We are doing scripting, just basic scripting now, so it doesn't matter that much whether it's 3D or 2D. But in our assignments, we'll probably do everything in 3D. Yeah. At the same time, if you haven't update or add in your modules, please make sure you add in Android and iOS builds, all right, in your installs. This takes some time, so please make sure you add this build in. So later during our demo, that comes into quite important for us to have. All right, so this one inherits everything. So I was saying mono behavior inherits all the goodies of Unity, right? And whenever we want to attach to our game objects, we need to have mono behavior in our classes. Okay, so with that, then I can attach, right? Then we have start and update. That doesn't really matter so much. Okay, so we're going to start with our simple script. Okay, I'm going to deviate a little from the demo. All right, so if you remember private, do you all remember private and public variables? Public intent and public string. If you don't remember, that's fine. Please sound off. Okay, so we could have private and public. Private meaning private means we can only access within the class itself. All right. Public means we can initialize or access outside the class. All right. So this is what it means. If I want, I'm just going to attach a empty game object. Simple JSON, for example, and I'm just going to attach my script to it. So we can attach through this way, or we click on this, then we find our script. Doesn't matter. All right. So when we have public in Unity, Unity does something very nice for us. It allows us to accessed through the inspector. Okay. The other good thing is we can, if you want it as private, we can have serialized field. And we just wait for Unity to update. And we can have it as public, so-called public over here, just for us to modify. All right, so next I'm going to talk about how we're going to play with our JSON. Okay, so it's always good to play around with scripts. Classes. So we're going to have our other class. So in games or in when we talk about object-oriented programming, usually we do a lot with classes. This is just one class that modifies game behavior. So we're going to create another class called user. All right, so I'm just going to create another class. Say user. All right, it's going to fire it up. This time around, we can actually don't need the mono behavior. All right, so once we don't need the mono behavior, we can kill all this off also. And I'm just going to split my screen so you can see it better. Okay. Any part that you are not clear, please sound off that which part I'm not explaining properly. All right, so we're going to have our template for our users. So our users have a couple of things. One of it is maybe in our game we have health. Maybe in our game we have our position, where the player is, for example. Position. Maybe we also have username. Right, so these are things that we could have in a player, then empty constructor. So to make our objects or classes more meaningful, we would have constructors. Constructors allows us to use the feature called use the thing called new user. User temp equals to new user. So something like this. This will initialize and create a object of user type. All right. So if you forget, this is how we operate. Then we could also have objects that, constructors that allows us to have parameters. So we're going to have in-house, vector 3, and position, user string, username, right? And that's going to assign health equals to health. This dot position equals to position. This dot username equals to username. So what does this mean? The word this refers to all the properties that we define over here, right? This keyword this allows us to access things that are in the class itself, right? If there's something else outside the class, we can access that. This just refers to the class. All right. So the moment we say dot something, you go and find, okay, what are things that we can access? We can access some of the properties over here. We can access methods also in the class itself if we have. All right. All these are parameters. These are local to the method itself. All right. These parameters are only exist within here. So I'm just assigning whatever that I will key in later to something over here. So constructor with parameters user 10 equals to new user, maybe for example 100 HP, new vector 3, 111. Username could be, I don't know, just for example. All right, so this is how we can use constructors to help us to define a template for our classes. Next, we want to create our objects. All right, so I'm going to create our users and over in our game itself. So when we initialize and we start, we're going to create that user, say user, let's give it our new class rep, Jordan. for example, just a new user. And who do we define? So new user, you can see over here, right? There's two things that two methods that we can have, either an empty constructor like this or a constructor like this. All right, so we'll use the one that is empty first, and I'll show you how we can use it. So I want to define or give values to all the different properties. This is this Jordan.health equals to 100, Jordan dot what was it? Position equals to new vector 3 411, for example. Jordan dot username equals to Jordan the King, for example. All right. So once I'm done, I want to convert it to a JSON. All right. So how do we do that? Let's go and define a string first. String Jordan JSON, for example, equals to, going to use the JSON utility dot to JSON, and we're going to just throw in our object. So we can see the JSON utility. I know it's a bit tiny. They take in the object, or they take in object with a boolean. All right, so we're just going to use the one object. So it says generate a JSON representation of the public fields of an object. So we're just going to take Jordan over here. All right, so we're going to debug.log and print out our JSON output. Okay, so once we're done, let's go back to our Unity and see whether it runs properly. Yep. Yeah, because it doesn't matter when you're doing normal classes, it doesn't have game characteristics. So that's why we can remove the mono behavior. All right, and now we have it. Our output is over here. So what does it translate in JSON? Right. So this is the full JSON that's coming out. And I'll just put it on a. Let me just show you what I meant. Hang on, Oh, okay. JSON online. So to verify that our JSON and how it looks like, this is what it's gonna be. Oh, yeah. Where's the formatter? Oh, yeah. So something like this. Let's just get a better JSON formatter. All right. So our format will look like something like this, and we can store this into the database later. All right. Of course, we could have more information, more values inside, also more in-depth values. Okay. So this is how we can store to JSON. Let's go back to my Unity. All right, then for example, if we have JSON data, how do we give it back? Give it back to an object. All right, so we want to load it back to an object. For example, user Jordan clone. All right, and we can let's get it back from the JSON itself. We use the function called from JSON, and it specifies a string of JSON. All right, so it's a data type that we want to key in. I want the information that's coming back from a JSON string to be a user type. So I'm just going to map the information, and our JSON over there is Jordan JSON. All right. So specify a user type. Right, so I want all the JSON string. Because JSON is just a string, it doesn't know what kind of object it is, right? So I just use the user class that we have created. All right, and now we can actually debug it out and just make things nicely. Jordan's clone. All right, 0, 2. Let's see, what do we have? Jordan's clone dot health. Jordan's clone dot position. Okay, and we can just run our Unity already. And just fire back Unity. Clear it up. All right, then we have our data coming back already from an object. Okay, roughly get the idea. One more thing I want to show is objects with parameters. So we could also have something like this. So instead of this way of doing information, we could do user Jordan equals to new Jordan 100 new vector, and we have Jordan. Right, this will work the same as this, depending on sorry, not new Jordan, new user. All right, and you'll be fine. So you should output the same. Any questions up to this point? So the vector, the JSON will be something like this. Now, position, okay. Get back the idea of C# and Unity. Understand that you all had your ITD class that will help a bit also. All right. Anyone not clear? So this should be X. Y. Z. All right. So make things like meter. But this is just one information or one player, so it could you need to think about how do we store multiple players also. Right. So these are questions we're going to talk about along the module. But first thing first, we got to get back our understanding of JSON. All right. Are the rest okay? Is everyone okay? Let's save.
Really?
Maybe it takes some time to digest. All right, because once we go through the exercises, that will help also. All right. So we're actually passing all this information along the way. And let's come back to this. right? So the next part of the exercise, so imagine a game that we play, there's leveling system, there's game mechanics, there's leaderboard, and so on. All right, so how do we store that kind of information to a JSON data? Okay. So you can always plan how your JSON is going to look like, right? Using an editor, and then how do we convert that kind of information back into C#, right? But in this group exercise, you do not need to convert into C#. Just think about how you want to structure your data, all right, using just JSON. So maybe I could have, for example, players. It could be an array of players. Maybe player 1, for example, and what kind of information player 1 will have, and so on. All right. So in your teams, I would like you to take about 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes to think about what kind of information you want to store and how to store it in the JSON data. Okay. So based on your proposed part of the game. All right. This is important because in our assignment next week, we're going to start doing authentication and leaderboard, and we deal with the JSON data. Okay, we're going to make a simple game, and we're going to have all that stored inside. So my time now is about 11:05. We can come back at 11:30. Then we'll do the Firebase demo later. All right. Are we good? So discuss on the JSON data structure. All right, is everyone good? Or are you all there? Not there? Forget? Lost? Need some kind of feedback? I need to know which part lost. Don't worry about your data being too team or what. All right, let's try it out. If there's questions, let me know. All right, project to undersee it. All right, to take control. All right, so everyone okay so far? Are you all just listening to me? Let me know how you are doing it. So we're going to create our project, and we're going to call, you can call it any name that you want. Just call it MO3 test project. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is enable Google Analytics. So just leave it enabled. And we can select an account. If you do not have one, just create one. All right. Let's call it DDA MO3. And we're going to change it to Singapore. I'm going to set all the terms and conditions, and we're going to create our project. So let it run. Oh, this one exists already. I need to create MO3 test. Let's create another one. Right, I think earlier I created one with the same name. So project names are pretty unique. Make sure that it doesn't conflict. Okay, so far? No, later you watch the recording. First we start with Firebase. How about the rest, other than Ishan? So this is your Firebase console, right? The console does has a lot of things that's going on. Okay. The first thing that we do is we want to get started with a Unity application. All right, so this is iOS, Android, Web, and Unity. So we're going to start with Unity. Right, in the Unity application, there's quite a couple of things that we need to fill in. We're not going to register as iOS, we're going to register as Android first. So just give it a unique package name. Make sure that it's unique, so maybe I just go with something like this. This one we will key in later into our Unity settings later. Right? Once it's done, register your application. And it will tell you to download. Later, then we go through this. And it says, please download the SDK. Right, this is about 2 gig. Make sure you download this SDK. All right, and unzip it. So I have it downloaded and unzipped. I'm just going to continue and next. So once I'm ready, I have a application registered into my project. All right, and I'm going to start my database. So once, if you're empty and there's nothing going on, you can start creating your real-time database. So just click on create database. All right, we're going to make it in Singapore. So our server is going to be hosted in Singapore. All right, we're going to set our security rules. Do not start with this. We start with in test mode. Right, so that we have immediate, there's no authentication checks. All right. Then once it's done, click on create. So give it some time. All right, and this is your database. There's no entries at the moment. This is your JSON database. So maybe we could even add information, for example, username, Arun, for example. So this is your data in your database already. All right, I'm just going to delete. The rules earlier, make sure that it's set to now. All right. So next, how do we sync to our Unity project? There's a few things that we need to do. First thing, we need to download the JSON file. All right, so click on Project Overview, Project Settings, and download this. So I'm just going to download to my DDA MO3. I'm just going to overwrite this. All right, keep it somewhere safe. And next, we can find out our Unity project. Everyone okay so far? Is anyone following me? Yeah, so the setup is important, so make sure you get your setup done right. Any response from the class? I'm just going to pause here for a while. Okay, must say, then no one say I asked so many times. But tell me where's your step, or are you stuck somewhere? Wei Ling, are you stuck somewhere or somewhere else? Yeah, must respond, must respond. Wei Ling, where are you at? How about Celeste or Esther? Just put it side by side. Or Jordan or Joshua or Arun. Okay.
Sure. So what comes after creating project?
After creating project, go to your real-time database and create database. Because the setup will have some issues, so it's good that if you follow along. All right.
So in test mode, actually.
Correct. Yeah, correct, Leon. Yeah. So different machines might have different issues. I suggest you follow along. Yeah. Okay. So the next thing we
Sure,
will,
sure.
yeah,
Enable Google Analytics for project only.
yep, enable. Because the first two classes, some of them had Windows or Mac issues. Okay. Right. Okay, so far. So I have who's Leon and Arun following along. Very good. One Windows, one Mac. That's nice. So once I'm done, I have to import in my SDK. All right. So go to Unity and go to import package, custom package, and we're going to have our Firebase data package over here, right? It's going to complain, do you want to import everything? Just click on all and just click on import. And this one will take a while. So it's very important to import this. If you don't import this, we can't use Firebase. All right. So like my computer, I can't do anything. Yeah. All right. You see, so the package has quite a lot of things that's coming in. Okay. The next thing I want to swap to my Android platform. So earlier I say we register Android app. So you see it's still importing. And before we do all this, make sure you also have the Android and iOS modules in your Unity. And what I meant by that is make sure your Unity Hub has the proper modules installed. Okay. Am I too fast still?
Sure. Import the zip file or need to unzip then import.
So unzip. Remember your Unity packages as always a .package file.
Okay, so after unzipping, there's a lot of files. So choose everything.
No. So choose the .NET 4. So there's .NET 3 and .NET 4. Yeah, sorry I missed this part. Make sure that
Okay.
and click on Firebase database.
Okay.
Okay, Arun. Now you make me import. Okay. Imported already. All right, so it takes a while. So we're going to set our platform to Android. So click on Build Settings, and we're going to swap to Android. So you see Unity is trying to make some noise over here. Enable. So you try to depend on Android, then just leave it. Hopefully I don't have issues. The next thing is we want to set our package name in our Android, in our player settings. So let me just go slowly, just click on player settings. Go to our Android, and earlier our package name that we have. If you forget your package name, so first thing we click on override, go back to your project, overview. This is your package name, copy it and paste it over here. All right, then we are done for our setup. You see, Firebase will try to resolve, and Unity will try to resolve Android issues. All right, so this thing will run behind the scenes. Okay, so once we are done with all this, it's time to create our Firebase content already. Right, so we create our empty object first. I can call it Firebase Manager. All right, so there's an empty object. We're going to create our script, and it's lagging. because of the Android. Right, don't worry too much. And we're going to create our C# script. I'm just going to call it Firebase Manager. All right. And it's time to let's call Firebase in. All right. So how do we do it? Let me just. Okay. Going to start. So we're going to call our Firebase library. Right. So we using Firebase. If you import it in properly using the import package earlier, you would have this namespace of Firebase inside. If you didn't, then you have to double check again. So we are going to use the database option, firebase.database. All right. So once we start, it's time we're going to create our reference to the database. Reference meaning we want to connect with our settings in our Firebase itself, right? So Firebase reference, database reference, I mean, this is linked to Firebase. Let's call it DB reference equals, right? I want to do it when the script is awake. I write the start, and DB reference equals to Firebase database dot the instance meaning what's the default database that's been set. We only have one, so we just said default instance and the root reference. So this one determines the linkage to our Firebase based on our JSON settings. All right. So we haven't put in our JSON file. Later we will put it in. All right. So once we are ready, we can start thinking, oh, how do I put into our database itself? Okay. So in order to do that, we need to think about how our structure is supposed to be. So earlier we have all this, our JSON values and so on, and we can do something similar. All right. So we're going to store that information into our database. So I'm going to create a function called let's call it private void write user. All right, string user ID, string name, string what else we have? Health, position, and username. Health, integer health, string vector 3, position, and username. All right, so this one we're going to start writing into our database. We create our user. Let me just copy this. All right. We're going to convert to JSON, which is this. So our database only accepts JSON values. All right. So it's a string, and we're going to reference to our database. So we have our DB reference. So this one calls our database. All right, this DB reference. And I want the database to create a small property called users. And I will add in my JSON value. All right, so it says dot set raw JSON. Okay. So what JSON value am I supposed to put in? Is this Jordan JSON? Will do. Okay. And let me see whether I can run. We should have an issue when we run. So I want you to see the issues. There's attach, right? clear out my console and I'll try to run. Okay, so for Mac users, you will encounter this issue. So Arun, please take note. All right. Once you see this on your Mac, it's actually the security settings. Just click on cancel. It's quite irritating. We are too secure for Mac. Right, just go to your system preferences, security, and just allow. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Let's rerun. Then this one will complain again. So just open. Everything is safe. And then you see, oh, Unity is complaining. There's an exclamation mark. All right, unable to load Firebase, blah, blah, blah. This is because we haven't put in our JSON file. Right, earlier in your project, in your Firebase, we have this particular file that we need to put in. All right, so all we have to do is put in that file. So we put it in our root assets folder. All right, let me just find my Finder. And just go and dump it in like this. All right, and this file is stored. The reason is because they need to know which URL, where is the database, what's the project called, and so on and so on and so on. Right, once it's done, just click on play. There's no errors, so we check out our database. Oh, why is our database not having values? Did I put in correctly? Oh, we never call a function. Yeah, we wrote so nice, so many stuff. So we call this, we write our method, right? So we need to call our function. So we're going to call write user. So we want the program when it starts, just create a user into our database. All right, so we can give it a user ID, maybe player 1. For example, give it health 100. New vector 3, position will be, let's just give it 111, and what's the last one? Username. It's called Jordan. Okay. All right. Just gonna rerun and put our database side by side. And then you can see Firebase is updated. We have users, and we have health and our position. All right, and let's come back to our script. All right, so player 1. All right. There we have our details over here. We never store the ID. Later we can store our ID if we want to. All right, we can store it this way. Let's stop my script for a while. User ID. All right, and run our Unity again. And we have our player 1. Nicely spot. So the earlier ones are those without IDs. Right, we can have one player ID like this nicely for us. So let me just delete. So all these are real-time storage. So imagine you have other applications accessing the data. They're all in real-time updated, and they can be replicated back to your application. All right, so this is the setup for your Firebase. Please make sure you do the SDK properly, the JSON file, all right, and call your methods properly. Right, the basic thing that you need to know is the libraries are inserted, the database reference is there, All right, we initialize our database. Okay, then we can decide where to store, how to store. Right, so this function tells us that where to store user to the initialize our Firebase database. We new user into Firebase database. Okay. Okay, I'm going to pause for a while. Anyone not so sure about this point or need me to explain? I'm going to stop the recording. Okay. Is everyone okay? Arun, I think Arun and Leon are doing. You can watch the recording on the setup. So make sure your setup is correct. So rewatch the recording on the setup. All right. So first few things that you need to do is make sure you have a Google account, set up the project. So make sure you set up your project. Once you set up the project, then you can add in your application. All right. Just want to check, Arun, your Mac all right?
Yeah, it's alright.
Okay. Leon, are you all right?
Oh, I'm listening. Just listening, chill. Because my Unity, I don't know how to script. The script is empty, so I cannot do anything yet.
Okay, okay. Fine. All right. So my suggestion, the next part of the CA. All right. So earlier we were using set raw JSON value async. So this one allows us to write JSON data to the database directly. Right. So in CA2, if you try printing out the JSON information, this is like one string, right? So we're going to take that string and put it nicely, the whole string with its structure, put it nicely into our database. Okay. Next week onwards, we're going to try with the other methods on how to save data to our database. Okay. So we start with this. All right. So for the CA, I want you to do up the setup and all that. That's a guide. Let me just copy this. All right, this is a very simplified guide. You can watch the video or go through the slide deck. Right. So in CA2, you have a suggested JSON structure. You can adapt that and simplify it to create your own C# scripts and put it into your Firebase and try it out. All right. So the things that you need to do is to export the JSON from Firebase. So in Firebase itself, let's go back to, yeah, you can export over here. All right. And then export a package of your scripts, your C# scripts, and then a video clip of your Firebase code in action. That means before information is stored here, I want you to run your the record before information is stored here. Make sure it's empty, and then play your Unity. Then the information should be stored in your proposed JSON structure. All right. So maybe I'm doing this kind of structure. There's player 1, health, and so on. All right. That should be my structure. Okay. So when I export, all right, it's going to look like this. Okay. So your structure should be the same as what you propose. All right. everyone got the idea of the CA deliverables? It's very clear. The reason why I want you to do a video is because I want to make sure your setup is correct. All right, because next week onwards, we're going to do a lot of that. This one you can submit before the end of next week, before the start of the next week's class. For CA2, 1 and 2, I want you to submit by today. Right, so the deadlines are listed. Okay. Yeah. So Jordan, our nice rep, please take note. All right. So make sure you submit CA2 and CA1. All right. So I was saying video. I'm just going to repeat one more time. The video of the Firebase. So for me, easy way is you split your screen, take a video, make sure your database is empty. All right. Then just run your Unity. So I know that before you run and after you run, what happens. And your database should be updated with your information like this. All right. The reason why I do that is because I want to make sure that everyone has a proper setup. All right. If not, it's going to be problematic along the way. All right. Okay. Yes, 1 and 2 did in class. That's if you did too. So currently there's only one team that submitted. CA1, everyone did. Please submit. There's one more team that hasn't submit. So I only have Esther's and Wei Feng's team. What about I think is it Jordan's team? Yeah, you can submit your slide deck. All right. So it's very fast. My CA. All right. If you have issues in doing the structure, you can private message me. All right. So if possible, I would like you to think deeper on the JSON structure that you intend to use. Okay. Any other questions? So I think this one, maybe I will do play the audio softly when we have breaks or intermissions. Yes, we'll try that out. For Celeste, Spotify, I think. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just now I play very soft. I don't know where you're here. Maybe it sounds like insects. All right, are we all good? I'm actually quite done. To summarize, we went through NoSQL, SQL. You guys explained all that. Watch JSON. Make sure you understand the structure. Do some reading on it. All right. If you're not sure, please come back to me. Do watch the videos on APIs and SDKs to have a clearer understanding. All right. I just skip through the videos. Don't want to waste too much time. And what is Firebase? So Firebase is a platform and it provides a ton of services. And for now, we're going to use the real-time DB. Next week and further on, we're going to use authentication. So as you develop your proposed game, you can use my game or you can use your own game. Doesn't matter. It's just a very simplified game. We're going to have authentication. We're going to have a leaderboard, right? And you could have additional stats. Additional stats meaning how many times the person clicked, right? And we can store it into the database and so on. And this can be tied to a different user. So imagine now, of course, we don't export to an APK or a mobile app, right? You could have different users signing in, and then all the information player stats can be tagged to these different players. And that is our assignment 1, all right? Okay, so just to give you a broader picture on assignment 1, what it is about. Okay, so just to sum off. So reminder, next week we start again at 9, right? Hopefully we can end